Itamar Ben Gvir. He's Israel's Minister of National Security. And to understand this example, we first need to talk about the Steed-Teman detainment camp. This camp's located inside of Israel and holds detained Palestinians. And over the past couple months, dozens of whistleblowers have come forward talking about what is actually going on at that camp, including Israeli doctors who treated some of the detained Palestinians there, who talked about how they had to do routine amputations to these prisoners, cutting off their hands because they were treated and tortured so badly that they got handcuff injuries that had to be amputated. They talked about how they made the prisoners strapped down in beds and fed through straws. Released Palestinians came forward and talked about how they were sodomized. Look it up if you don't know what that means. It's brutal. These released Palestinians talked about how the IDF had their dogs pee on the prisoners and how they weren't allowed to wear any clothes. CNN went there and took photos of what's going on. They torture Palestinians at this camp. It's a torture camp. So now that we understand what this camp is, you can now understand what I'm about to show you. 3 days ago, Ben Gvir wrote an essay on X talking about imprisoned Palestinians, and the translation of this essay is horrifying, and I want to show you it. He addresses the reports of torture at that camp, to which he says, everything published about the abominable conditions of these vile murderers in prison was true. They ruled the prisons without question and did whatever they pleased. He goes on to say that since he became the Minister of National Security, one of his biggest goals was to worsen the conditions of the terrorists in prisons and to reduce the rights to the minimum required by law. He then wraps up this essay with a solution for the problem of overcrowding at Israeli prisons, to which he suggests the simple solution of enacting the death penalty for terrorists, which would solve the overcrowding issue. You just saw Israel's Minister of National Security admit that Israel tortures the Palestinians that they detain, and I want to remind you that Israel is arbitrarily arresting military-aged men in Gaza, and that most of these detainees are released, even at camps like Steed-Teman, but they still get pissed on by the IDF's dogs. They still get beat up. They still get their arms amputated. They still have to drink through a straw. They still get sodomized. And they still get killed at Steed-Teman. Over 24 Palestinian detainees have been killed this year alone. These guys are old Zionists. They don't have value for a Palestinian's life. He's willing to just kill Palestinians they detained, who haven't even been tried. These men are Zionism's leaders.